Hello and welcome to SAT training. Give me one moment to present my screen. All right, welcome to Albuquerque Public Schools Curriculum and Instruction. What is Tier 1 and Tier 2? My name is Heather Dady. I'm a SAT liaison for APS charter schools and APS K through 12. My contact information is listed below. So what is Tier 1? Tier 1 is whole group instructions starting the very first day of school. So students are identified through the AIP process, which is the Academic Improvement Plan process. Usually at the end of September, OAR puts out a report that shows the students that are suspected to be needing AIP. So that should go through your admin, and then that should be funneled through your PLCs, your department chairs, your gold teams, grade level teams, whoever is going to look at that report. Remember, Tier 1 is not SAT. Tier 2 is SAT. We also start making teacher professional judgments on students as we see there's a need for that student to get more help. Teachers provide professional teaching strategies. For example, we provide pre-teaching, first teach, sheltered instructor, and DI, which is differentiated instruction. So what is a pre-teach? Pre-teach is knowing your students and knowing that they are not going to be successful in completing a unit on decimals because they have not been exposed to decimals. So prior to teaching that unit, you might do a game, you might do the rules of decimals, you might do an acronym of what decimals are, something fast and something quick so that they can activate their prior knowledge when they get there in a week or two, whenever you're teaching that. We also want to provide a wonderful first teach. We want to make sure we include all our students with all their sheltered instructions and DI instructions. That way, we're providing the best teaching possible for the first time around. So we're not having to go back and reteach what we just taught. When you're doing an appropriate first teach, those couple kids in the back of the classroom that are still confused are probably good indicators that they need to move on to Tier 2. So what do you need to do for Tier 1 for SAT? So the classroom teacher will complete the R1. It's one strategy for 6 weeks of progress monitoring. It's 3 data points on the area that he or she is concerned about. This does change a little bit with parent requests. So once we get to that form, please read the form about what is needed for a parent request. For a behavior only, it's 1 week of monitoring. Every teacher monitors, and you're focusing on one behavior with safety being a priority. So if there's not a safety issue, then what is the next behavior that's impeding learning? So Tier 2 is SAT. So what is Tier 2? It's small group instruction, is research-based curriculum. I have listed some examples of what we provide at APS. You're going to progress monitor one intervention per area of concern. It's going to last 8 weeks for academics, 6 weeks for behavior. If it's an academic referral, you're going to have 4 data points. And if it's a behavior referral, you're going to complete the B2, which is your scatter plot. Tier 2 never stops until they're placed in special ed or exited from SAT. So if a student is exited from special education, they need to be placed back into SAT. Some of these students will stay there for a long period of time, and some students will get out of SAT really quickly because they just need that moment to adjust. If a student qualifies in at least one area of testing, then the rest of the Tier 2 areas will go through the IEP team for non-qualifying areas. If the student does not qualify in any areas, the student is returned to SAT for Tier 2. So they went for testing and they did not qualify for any services. They're going back to SAT, and we're going to continue Tier 2. So down here bolded, it says accurate Tier 2 is more important than ever. So what does that mean? Special education is testing students for evaluations. However, they are doing a triangular method, which means one of those sides of the triangle is heavily weighted on Tier 2. So we have to have reliable, accurate Tier 2 data to help our special education diags place these students in the appropriate programs and make sure they get help that they need. So tier 2 is 90 to 120 minutes. This is obviously if we were in the green COVID-19. So green means we're all in school. So small groups, 20 minutes every day for elementary, 20 minutes 3 times a day for middle school and high school. And if the students are pulled to a strategy class, this would make up for their tier 2 minutes. So the big question is always, what is a strategy and what is an intervention? Remember, we were looking at interventions, not strategies. So strategy is a set of methods or activities. It's informal and may not be tracked. Instructional interventions are intentional. They're aimed at a particular weakness, data-driven, specific and formalized, and monitored. So really, this is a good slide to show to your staff for them to get an idea that strategies and interventions look massively different. And when we're talking about tier 2, we need something measurable. We need something that we can track. Therefore, we would need the interventions rather than a strategy. So what are the tier 2 responsibilities to start SAT for a teacher? The teacher is going to complete the R1 and email it to the SAT chair. They're going to request a hearing and vision from the nurse. The EL student has the E, alert, and synergy. They're going to complete the R6. If the first 2 questions on the R6 are only English or mostly English, then the R7, R8, and R9 are not required. This is new this year. You're going to run the iReady iStation report for the last 3 assessment cycles and email it to your SAT chair. This is part of that tier 2 data that the diags are asking for. Please make sure that you are aware of all your concerns before the SAT chair sends the parent letter and survey home. So what does that mean? This is directed towards teachers. When the parent gets the letter in the mail saying you have a SAT meeting, that should not be the first contact with that parent. They should be knowing that there's something going on with their child. They should know if their child is super gifted and is bored because it's too easy. Or they should know that they're struggling before that SAT meeting. So let's talk about COVID-19 tier 2 red status, which is currently where we're at. Red status means that we are doing distance learning only. So how do we do tier 2 right now? So through Google Meet, teachers should be meeting in small group to provide tier 2 interventions to their students. This counts towards the New Mexico PED 3 hours of asynchronized class time, so it does count. Teachers providing the tier 2 intervention should be completing the R4 form for academics, SLP language, and the B2 for behavior. Okay. Teachers can also assign iReady, iStation, or Read 180 Math, ST Math, and so they can assign those lessons so that students can do it on their own. However, let's not forget that we need to have those Google Meets and discuss what the child's not getting because they need that human contact as well, not just left on the computer hoping for the best. Okay, so what do we do in COVID tier 2 yellow status? So this means we're going to the hybrid model. So during the hybrid model, tier 2 can occur during asynchronized time through small groups and Google Meet. Tier 2 can occur at the school site through a pullout teacher. Tier 2 can occur in the classroom during scheduled response to intervention. So those are some ideas of where tier 2 can fall. An example can be students can work at home on ST Math software during distance learning week. And then students can meet with teachers in a small group where teachers direct interventions that are given in areas where ST Math reports are showing further need. So while the students at home, they're working on the ST Math software. When they get into the class, then they will start working with the teacher on areas that they keep hitting that orange screen with. So they need further instruction. They need that human contact. So what do the students from COVID-19 closures, what do we do with those students? So in March, we shut down. So what do we do with those files? Hopefully your SAT chair last year turned in whatever needed to be turned in. So if the SAT file was turned in and it's complete, yay, you're done. Woohoo! If the SAT file was turned in and it was missing the N2, which is the nursing summary, or the R10, which is the teacher observation, please contact the nurse and obtain the N2. Have the teacher complete the COVID-19 observation form that's found on Canvas in each area of concern. An observation can be done for reading and writing together. So you could have one for reading and writing, and then a separate one for math, and then a separate one for behavior. You're going to email the DIAG centers, and they're on the contact logs on Canvas with the updated form. You are not going to upload N2s to Synergy. That is a violation of HIPAA. If SAT files were not turned in, and you're going to pick up where you left off. So no starting over. So wherever you stop, that's where you start. Schedule a SAT meeting and determine appropriate tier 2s for the student. If you had completed some tier 2 data during the previous years, then finish those tier 2s if they're still appropriate for that student and in their current placement. So if the student's in 6th grade and the tier 2 for last year was for 5th grade, you might have to look at different programs, different curriculum. What are you looking at for tier 2? But if they're in the same program using the same curriculum, then you just continue with the tier 2s that were developed last year. What if students are not attending class? Tier 2 class, distant learning classes. So if students are not attending distant learning classes, hold a SAT meeting with the teachers, the parents, and the student, and inform the parents that tier 2 data is a vital part of determining if the student needs services, and we really cannot send a student on without that information. You're going to complete a prior written notice, which is a PWN, and suspend SAT until attendance is consistent and the teacher is able to collect tier 2 data. Remember, a PWN must be sent home certified mail. A PWN needs to be uploaded to Synergy, and a copy of that needs to be given to your admin and emailed to me if it's a parent request. So this is not saying we'll never test them. This is just saying, hey, until your child attends classes and we can collect data, we're going to suspend the process. All right, that is the end of Tier 1 and Tier 2 training. Please join me to watch the revised parent request training for SAT chairs and teams. Thank you.